Facebook Live, YouTube, what's going on, the good people of the interwebs? Welcome back for another special episode here on the OG Show Live, baby. Drop in the comments where you're tuning in from, what kind of kayak you're fishing out of, or what you're fishing for. I don't care. Let us know you're here. Smash that share button down in the lower left-hand corner. Let's get it going, boys and girls. Nicholas Beltran in the house. What's up, my man? How you doing? Casey Starnes in the house. Walton Doyle. My man. Casey's tuning in from Cleveland, Tennessee. Good to see you fine folks here this evening. Just a couple quick things. Frankie Provolone. Sup, Slayer. Obviously, Mr. Randall is in here to my left. Thoughts and prayers to my brother from another mother. His father passed away this past week, so positive thoughts and prayers to my man Jay. Jay will be back. He's taking some time off, much deserved, and we'll get Mr. Randall back here. Last weekend on the Tippecanoe River, Mr. Jackson Orr taking it down for the first Paddle and Fin Trail Series event. Congratulations. Matt Gibson followed that up with a second place finish. I told you all there was big smallmouth there. Many 19s, but Mr. Gibson had a 20 and a half tank. Check it out on Tourney X. So, hope you guys are stoked. We got some awesome news here at the Paddle and Fin Familia. But we have an epic guest with us this evening. Captain, I was going to say Mr., but I gotta do this correctly. Captain Zach Rollins. What's up, my brother?
What's happening?
Welcome to the show, my friend. We'll get to why you're here, but Zach has a podcast as well, Along the Keel. I encourage you all to go to the podcast platforms, check that out. Website too, right? alongthekeel.com.
Yep. Instagram, Facebook.
See that?
All
Finally.
over the interwebs.
Sometimes I got it together. Sometimes I don't, I'm only human, boys and girls. But me and Zach, we've been talking for what, about a week now?
About a week now, yeah. We've been chit-chatting.
Yeah. So Zach and his podcast are part of Waypoint TV. And Zach reached out and said, hey, why don't you bring the Paddle and Fin family over to Waypoint TV? And what do you know? Paddle and Fin teaming up with Waypoint TV, their podcast streams. These videos are going to go up there as well. We've been talking to the folks over there all week. Signed, sealed, delivered. It's pretty cool. It's awesome. It's going to open up. I think, from talking to some of the guys and gals here at Paddle and Fin, it's going to open up the door to help spread the word of kayak fishing. If you guys aren't familiar with Waypoint TV, everybody in the kayak fishing world knows Drew Gregory. His Hooked on Wild Waters TV show was hosted there. So it's totally cool to get the invite and be part of the Waypoint family. But, Zach had a big role in that. So I guess let's jump into that. Why'd you reach out to us? And we'll kind of talk about how this all went down.
The nitty gritty. Yeah. Well, Brian, thank you for having me on, and just really cool to be able to be a part of Paddle and Fin and bring you guys onto Waypoint. When I first found you guys, it was kind of out of the blue, and was listening to some of your stuff, saw that there was, it wasn't just you, like there was a team element to this, and that's what I was attracted to. And I thought, man, you guys have some awesome content, great following. And I
forgot the kayak. I forgot the kayak hunting. I apologize, Brad. That's new and up and coming. Brad's one of our hosts for the Feather and Fur podcast.
Oh, segment. Awesome! So glad to have you, Brad. Yeah. And Waypoint is just out there trying to really grow our network and grow our reach and grow it in a way that brings on high quality shows like, you guys, and, just make the world a better place, make the outdoors a better place. Right. And have a positive impact. So you guys were doing the same thing that we're doing. And that's why we wanted to have you on.
Yeah, man. It's exciting. I got this email and I'm like, is this spam?
I always fear that.
And I started reading into it and I was like, no, this isn't spam. This is legit. And so, we started conversating and, when we started presenting this to the other hosts and things like that, there's no real change other than, it's the same content. It's still our own, thing. It's just now we're going to have the ability to reach a bigger audience, work with awesome folks at Waypoint. There's tons of podcasts on there as well. And, just be part of something that's bigger than what we already are, which is super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here, and like I said, saw you guys fit the bill perfectly. And, it's funny. Every time I send out an email, I'm always like, "Is this sound like spam? I hope it doesn't sound like spam." You read these emails and you're like, "Oh man, like that's just sounds like some idiot somewhere wrote it, right?" And you're like,
"No
one's gonna want to read this."
Well, we get some of those. Inbox gets spammed a little bit, so I always try to weed anybody out.
Right.
So it's as I was scrolling through, I'm like, oh, no kidding.
Oh, Waypoint.
So, yeah, Waypoint. And I'm very familiar because that's how I used to, watch Drew Gregory's Hooked on Wild Waters show. There was a couple other shows on there that I used to watch as well. Heartland Bow Hunter is part of Waypoint. Ike Live is part of the Waypoint podcast world. So it's kind of cool to be able to rub shoulders with some of those folks,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And same here, when I started my podcast and I got approached by Waypoint, I was under the same mindset. It's like, oh man, there's all these other podcasts similar to mine,
sure,
in their own, and everyone has their own perspective on things in the outdoors, but to be able to rub shoulders with, guys like you mentioned, guys like Tom Rowland and be able to talk more about the outdoors and, whatever else comes up, so I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, for sure, man. Ike, if you're watching, I'll come on your show anytime.
We
I'll
can
have
make
to
that
check.
hook up. You never know.
I'll have to check the calendar, Mike, but I might be able to squeeze you in, my friend. But yeah, man, it's super cool. It's awesome news for us. We're super stoked. We wanted to bring it to you guys. So those of you guys that are tuned in on the podcast platforms, obviously we're live now, but a lot of folks listen after this is live on the podcast platforms. You'll still be our channel will still be at the same place. The uploads will go to the same spot you always go to listen to them. So don't have any fear. You won't have to go out and search around for the podcast again. Your normal subscription, wherever you guys tune in from, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Podbean, whatever it is, it'll all still be there in the same place. But you can go to Waypoint TV as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can also, if you have a Samsung TV and you have Samsung Plus, we're on there as well. So you'll be finding and Roku and
Roku, LG Smart TV. You could download the Waypoint app. I mean,
we're gonna be everywhere. We're gonna be everywhere, Brian.
I mean, this face is kind of for radio, bro, but I mean, there's a chance I might break that TV screen. Just saying.
That's right. They had me doing voiceovers the other day, and I was like, man, I guess the TV thing didn't work out, so I'm just gonna be the voiceover guy. I guess it's a step above a hand model, right?
Yeah, right. I like it. Ryan Milford from the Noob Show in the chat says we're gonna be famous. Hold your horses, bro. Wishful thinking, my friend. We'll all be famous except for Milford. You will soon learn, Zach, that Milford is like the little brother you always pick on in the group. So we love Ryan. He's a good dude. John Rapp in the chat says, Roku is ready. Let's like it, Big Daddy. I like it. My brother from another mother out there in West Virginia tuning in, man. So it's super cool. But let's get into you, man. Love the good news. Everybody should be stoked about it. It's just going to be cool for the kayak fishing world, the paddle and fin familia. You guys, the listeners, the followers are the familia. So, super cool, man. But Zach, you're a captain of a shrimp boat.
Bubba Gump, man.
Yeah. But, and you have your podcast Along the Keel as well, man. So, we always, when we're talking to fishermen, we always start out, man, how'd you get into fishing, where you're from, and all that good stuff, my friend?
Yeah. Well, so I guess fishing for me started when, I've been on a boat since there's a picture of me in as a kid at like 3 months old on a boat, on my grandmother's boat and, or the family boat, I should say. And from there, always been attracted to the water, mostly an ocean. I grew up here in Rhode Island. I was born in California, Laguna Beach, California, moved to Rhode Island and then lived in Florida. Most recently lived in Hawaii. Actually, I was working as a captain out there. Wow. That was awesome. Got to fish some of the Kona Granders, which was pretty cool. And so mostly saltwater for me. But got into fishing through my mom and dad. My dad grew up in a fishing family. His dad and my grandfather was a commercial Gloucesterman. So commercial swordfish, longliner. They mostly did swordfish and cod, and then lobster in the off season. Ooh. And then my mom is just someone, she's always in the outdoors. She actually, if I were to spin you around, there's a bunch of ducks and geese and everything around my head, and she does taxidermy on the side.
That's cool. Heck
yeah. So always grew up in the outdoors, always grew up fishing, like I said, mostly on the ocean. And throughout my life I was attracted to the water and was like, well, how can I spend the most time on the water and then get paid to do it? Well, there's a lot of jobs out there, and I just so happen to work pretty much everything in the industry, from working at a marina to a boatyard to sanding and painting bottoms to running $1.5 million yachts, or multi-million or whatever you want to say. But
sure,
it was something I've always been attracted to. So when I got my license, I was like, this is a no-brainer. Hell, I can drive people's boats, I can drive other tour boats, charter boats, and just kind of go that way. So went to the University of Rhode Island for marine affairs and kind of cut my teeth here in Narragansett Bay, and then actually moved out to Hawaii for a little bit and lived in Kona, Hawaii, and started running boats out there. So now we're back in Rhode Island, still running boats, talking to you, doing a podcast, and this is kind of how it all went down in 5 minutes.
So Hawaii, man, is it like you're on vacation 24/7?
That's funny. That's a funny. It's no, definitely not.
All right.
It's living in Hawaii, I think it gets romanticized a lot, right? Okay. And I think because and don't get me wrong, Hawaii is absolutely gorgeous, unbelievable people, culture is incredible, but the truth of it is it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
So when you live out there, you got to kind of earn your keep. And fortunately for me as a captain, you can make some pretty decent money, but it's when the boat goes, you go, and during the busy season, boat always goes.
Yeah.
Now with that said, when the off season or when the winter swell comes in, it quiets down a little bit, so you get some nice time off. You can kind of enjoy it and hang out and go fishing, because Hawaii right there is known for the Kona Granders, which is 1,000-pound marlin right off the coast. And we're talking, you leave the breachway and you're already dropping your lures in the water and you're trolling, only a few miles offshore because it's 15,000 feet.
That's crazy, dude.
It's wild. They say every mile you go offshore is a mile deep. That's kind of the metric.
I don't know, man. That's just kind of wild to me. I mean, I've been on the ocean and up in Maine, and I don't think down on the West Coast at all. Florida, I've been out a little bit. I've never fished saltwater. You believe that? I've been out on the ocean.
Saltwater?
Never fished saltwater, bro.
Oh man,
I was supposed to go to Texas last April, a little over a year ago, and fish for reds and sea trout with my man Dustin Nichols, who does our saltwater segment here on Paddle and Fin. And Rona hit, and I canceled my flight.
Damn you, Rona.
But I had some airline credit, and I just rebooked a flight to Florida in July.
There you go. All right. Oh, so during ICAST.
Yeah. Well, you just spilled the beans, bro.
Oh, shit. I wasn't supposed to say that.
It's all good. Paddle and Fin will be in the house at ICAST, boys and girls.
Were you supposed to say that on this segment, or?
It's all right. It's all right. The cat's out of the bag, bro. We're full of good, exciting news tonight.
This is a good segment.
I like it.
A lot of good news going on. And I possibly just ruined one of them, but
no, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, never fished saltwater, man. But
that's wild.
I remember I was a kid, man, and I was up in Maine and just going out. As a kid with my folks, and my old man wanted to see some whales out on the Atlantic, and we went on a whale watching tour. That was the extent of my saltwater experience, but it was awesome. But
I mean, saltwater here, well, in New England is special, and I'm biased, right? Because I've grown up in New England for a while, but
sure.
I mean, we have so many species up here, and then if you go offshore, you kind of hit the Gulf and the Gulf Stream, I should say. You're getting pelagics like white marlin, blue marlin, mahi, tuna, and sometimes they'll get kind of sucked in close to shore. So I've even seen triggerfish up here in Rhode Island, and that's a saltwater, that's a tropical fish.
Sure.
And then on the flip side, like I've seen beluga whales here in Narragansett Bay, and that's like, well, that's a Arctic, right? I mean, you're thinking cold water mammal. So, New England has such an interesting ecosystem, and it's so diverse. And I don't know if a lot of people know about it, so we can kind of keep it quiet. But you should definitely get up here one of these days, and we'll take you out. We'll go fishing.
All right.
Yeah,
I like it.
We'll get some tog.
I think Rhode Island. I think that's. I think we took a ferry or something from like New York to Rhode Island or something.
Did you?
Maybe it was Jersey to
Block
New
Island,
York,
maybe.
something like that. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
a 3 week long road trip as a kid, man. All up the East Coast, all the way up into Maine, and then back down through Vermont, New Hampshire.
That sounds awesome.
All that cool stuff. Yeah, man. That's something I'll never forget for sure.
Yeah.
But, well, and I know you were it sounded like you guys were kind of making fun of it on your podcast I was listening today. Your most recent one was a striped bass, right?
The striped bass. Yeah. Yeah. Beaches and beans. That's right. Yeah.
You guys were making a crack at the striped bass. What, you guys don't like the stripers or what?
No. So I love striped bass. I just think they're overrated. That's just my opinion. I think, it's kind of like, let me, I don't know. I can compare it to guacamole, right? Like I love guacamole. A little overrated. Like it's not ice cream.
I agree with that. Yeah.
It's not ice cream. Ice cream I think is properly rated. Guacamole, I think people overrate it. And I think the striped bass, although it's one of the endemic species that I think is a beautiful representation of fishing here in New England,
Sure.
It's become so popular with the recent changes in regulations, especially here in Rhode Island, that have really kind of brought the resurgence of the species back, which I think is incredible. And people really take striped bass fishing here very, very seriously.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the anglers, because it is their main, target species, they take it to heart. For me, I think striped bass fishing is fun. You got some running and gunning you do in the spring with the schoolies, and then you get the fall run, and then during the summer they kind of hang out in deeper water out by block. But I like to tog. That's just, I'm biased. I like to tog. So that right there, let's see, that right there, that fish behind me is a tog. It's also called a blackfish.
Okay. And looks kind of like a smallmouth almost.
Yeah, a little bit. They're kind of
more black.
Yeah. I mean, they're an ugly fish. They're not pretty. They got this big lip on them, and then they have teeth that look like a human. It's pretty wild.
That's messed up, bro. That's why I don't fish the ocean. Y'all have some weird fish with like weird teeth and
that's scary shit.
Yeah.
Keeps you on your toes. But yeah, I think tog or blackfish, depending on who you talk to, they taste great, but I think they're underrated, and that's why I like them. I like an underdog,
All right. So that's your ice cream of the ocean, so to speak, if we're going back to your guacamole reference.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. How would it compare to like a sea trout, so to speak?
You mean in terms of like
eating?
Like I can't say I've ever eaten a sea trout.
All right. I don't know. My man Dustin Nichols, we're gonna have to get you two together, man, because
get me a couple trouts.
Yeah, you guys can talk saltwater fishing for sure.
Love it.
But do you do any inland fishing up that way?
I've had a buddy of mine. He's been trying to get me to go. I've just been so busy. He crushes. Shout out to my buddy John. He crushes the fly rod. I mean, he's just always out there. Rainbow trout, brown trout. Up here in New Hampshire, he's always going up there. And then he finds the weirdest creeks in Massachusetts, and he just slams fish all day.
That's awesome.
I have gone for smallmouth here in Rhode Island. There's some ponds that they get that there's some smallmouth bass in there, and then that's pretty much it. I'm a saltwater guy. It's the ocean.
I thought you were going to tell me the ice cream fish was like a swordfish or a tuna or something like that.
Tog, man. All those are overrated. Pelagics? Come on. Give me the ugly fish that tastes great that no one knows about.
I mean, the only thing I really know about New England fishing is lobsters and swordfish, man. So, what was that movie with what's his face? Marky Mark was in it, and
Perfect Storm.
The Perfect Storm. That's it.
Yeah. So funny. I had just gotten back from a charter, and it was just pissing rain out, right?
Yeah.
Just dumping. And it's cold. It's like one of those cold summer days, towards the end of the summer. And it's just, I'm soaking wet. I got boots, full rain gear, and I walk into a sunglass shop because that day I sat on my Costas, so I had to buy a new pair. And so I go in, and sure as shit, one of the guys who was in the perfect storm is walking around the sunglass shop. And
That's crazy.
I'm trying to, do you remember the guy who everyone hated in the movie? He was like the bad guy.
Oh,
the crew member.
Yeah.
He's been in the Longest Yard with Adam Sandler. Like, it's funny. Like, I'll tell people that, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that guy." Like, no one knows his name, but he's always that guy.
Right.
So I go up to him like, "Hey man, you're the guy in those movies." He goes, "What movies? What are you talking about?" I go, "No, don't fuck with me. Like, you were in the Perfect Storm." He goes, "Yeah, it looks like you were too recently." Yeah. So we had a fun it was kind of funny. It was like great. Perfect timing, But yeah, Perfect Storm, great movie.
Heck yeah, man. Brother Jeff in the house. He's on a mission. It's called Fish the 50. He's trying to catch a fish in all 50 states. So
let's go, Jeff. I like the hat. You will definitely get you fish up here.
There you go. Thoughts and prayers with Jeff's wife as well, man. This week, his wife donated a kidney to somebody from their church, and
wow,
both are doing really well. Super awesome story.
Yeah,
I know Jeff's been posting about that. So
that's awesome.
His wife is awesome. She loves coffee just as much as I do. So I know she's itching to get a cup of coffee in her. Hopefully she got that today. If not, tomorrow, I hope. So
yeah. What are you what roast of coffee? Are you an anything coffee, or do you have like a?
I will drink anything as long as it's got caffeine in it.
Okay.
With the exception of Red Bull. Bad experience in my early 20s with Red Bull, little Jägermeister. We don't need
Red
to go
Bull's
there.
out.
Yeah, Red Bull's out. Like, I can't even smell Red Bull, or I might have to go in the corner.
But Monster's in. We can do a Monster. Or no, just coffee.
Sure. I mean, I work with Mountain Dew, so I've been on their energy drinks a little bit lately. So,
all right.
Got to stay true to the Dew.
Got to stay with the brand, right?
But yeah, super cool, man. So
yeah,
along the keel, man, your podcast, like what made you start a podcast? I think you're 50 episodes deep, roughly, like 55 or 56.
Yeah, I think we just dropped episode 60 will be coming out this Sunday, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
How often are you uploading?
So once a week. Yeah, okay. Right now once a week. When I started, I was going crazy. I was doing 2 a week, and then it's a ton. It's a ton of work. All well worth it. But when my season started getting busy, it got too much, and I was like, all right, we got to dial this back a little bit. And what it did do is it allowed me to have a lot of episodes kind of on the back burner, and then I could just kind of push them out. Sure. But yeah, the podcast started. So I was in Hawaii. I was working as a captain, and I've always had this entrepreneurial itch, ever since I was a kid. And I've had several, lawn businesses. I've done, let's see, I had a, you're going to laugh at this. I bred crickets and sold crickets to pet shops and whatnot. That was a business
I thought you were going to say as bait.
No.
I've known some folks to use crickets as bait here in the Midwest. That's for sure.
Really?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah, especially in the summer, like those bass will start eating topwater crappies, bluegills. They'll get up in the shallows, and
all right,
if there's tall grassy fields in the grasshopper lands, man, sometimes, even trout streams too. Like the trout, that's a real big fly. As kids, or anything that look like one of those water ants or water spiders or whatever. Yeah, that's a big thing in the trout world for sure.
Yeah. And crickets float good, right? So it all works out. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So I always did stuff on the side, and been working. And from there, got my license and moved to Hawaii. worked as a captain, and I still had that itch, I need to scratch it. And for me, I had thought about starting a podcast, like probably coming up on 3 years now, when I was at a friend's wedding. And basically I sat there at my computer in the hotel room and started recording my voice, and was like, nope, not going to happen. Not going to work. This is a dumb idea.
Isn't that crazy? Like, I remember when I recorded the first Paddle and Fin episode, and I was like, and me and the guy started Paddle and Fin with, shout out to the Godfather. We were like, I hate my voice. This is so bad. Yeah. This is so bad. And now I don't even know how many episodes deep I am personally, but it's just like, now it's just like second nature. You don't think twice about it and things like that. And then, like some of our guys, I've had people come up and like, man, you should really be on the radio. You got this voice for radio and this and that. And I'm like, what are you smoking, dude? Like,
right.
It's crazy, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I will say you do have a good radio voice.
I don't know about that, man. But I mean, how long did it take you to get over that aspect? Because I know for me, like, it didn't go away for, gosh, it was probably like the first year. I was always super conscious of what I was saying. And, I would always say a lot. And, like all those different, like, stupid things. You go back, and I still to this day will go back and listen to the first episode just to, like, as a reminder of where I came from, to, to keep it real and all that stuff, as we've grown,
Yeah, I listened to my first episode and I'm like, man, I should really re-record this. This is this is awful.
Right.
I hope someone doesn't start at 1 and then go. If you're gonna do it, start at 1 and listen to all of them, but don't just go to 1 and assume that the quality doesn't improve from there on out.
That's interesting, right? Because I know we've had folks like shoot us messages and stuff like that, where like they'll jump in on like tonight's show and they're like, man, that was really good. And then they'll go back and listen to episode 1. And I'm like, man, that's probably a huge disappointment. But like, we've heard several times, like, guys will find us, and gals too, they'll find us and they'll go back to episode 1 and then just like binge. But like, I think we're probably pushing close to 600 episodes from episode 1 to now. So that's a lot of binging.
That's a lot of binging. Yeah. So from there, I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll give this thing another shot,
Sure.
And then that's what I did. I sat down at my my dining room. It was like a little bar table, and hunched over a $25 mic in overlooking the Pacific. Not a bad view. And I started calling up, friends and family that I knew that were kind of in the industry. And I convinced my buddy Graham from West Passage Oysters, which I believe is episode 2 or 3.
Okay.
And then for, some stroke of luck, I convinced 2 other people to be on the show, just no Instagram, no website, no nothing. Right.
Right.
And they said yes, and it was like, oh shit, now I committed to this. Now I have to. Like now I got to go through with it. And now we're 60 plus episodes in. But to answer your question, I think it probably took me about the same time, about a year, and we're just coming up on a year now. Like, we started in February, so now it's almost May. So. Probably about 10 episodes ago, I was like, okay, I can deal with my voice. And then, like I said, now Waypoint, we're like, hey, can you do voiceovers? And I go, oh geez, now we have to now we gotta restart this process now.
Yeah, right. But, yeah, that's always a tricky one, like doing voiceovers for like commercials and things like that. Like, we run a couple ads for sponsors and stuff we work with and things like that, and it's always interesting. You're like, man, I think I need to redo that. And you do like 20 takes, and it's always, you go back to like the first or second one, and you're like, yeah, this was it. What was I doing?
Meanwhile, you listen to, like, it's funny because when I did it, you're right, you did it like 20 times. but then you listen to the same 10 words over and over and over again, then they all sound the same. Then you go back to number one, you're like, all right, this is fine. We're good. Just one and done.
So I don't think we touched on it, but like, what's the concept of Along the Keel? Like, what's your premise of the whole podcast?
So kind of coming at it from that entrepreneurial type mindset, and to preface it, I don't typically like that word entrepreneur. I think it's kind of cliche. I think there's a certain level in which you have to, I don't think a certain level of success, but I think there's a certain level of buy-in, if you will, to then step into the arena, right? My favorite quote is The Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt. I don't know if you're familiar with that quote at all. But it talks about stepping in and kind of putting in your time and committing to something and being consistent and then going forth with it. So I always loved that concept, and having that background, I decided that, okay, well, I love the ocean. I love the outdoors. How can I kind of make a how I built this podcast, but focusing on stuff that I want to hear about, right? And then within that, kind of mix in conservation and environmental discussions, and kind of opening the doors and bridging the gaps from the idea of conservation and preservation, right? Because I think with preservation, we're talking more like national parks and trails and enjoying it. But then conservation, we talk more on fishing and hunting and really kind of merging these two lifestyles, if you will, together and bringing a better understanding to the fact that, well, in order for us to enjoy the outdoors, we need companies like Beaches and Beans, right? Because they're bringing more, they're bringing more light to the issues and topics that are, oh yeah, there it is. Man, this is a cool program. Boom.
That's on Apple Podcasts, but I'm sure it looks similar on everything else.
Yeah. We got a new logo, but for some reason it doesn't populate on Apple as well sometimes. But
we'll have to talk to those folks.
Yeah,
I'll get them. I'll get on them
those
for
rapscallions over at Apple. But yeah, that's kind of the concept overall. It's it's connecting the idea of conscious capitalism and being like, okay, well, in order for us to enjoy the outdoors, we also kind of have to pay for it,
Sure.
But let's tell the stories of how people are doing their part in doing that, So shows range from, Beaches and Beans, which was the most recent one, where these father and son duo have a great coffee company here in Long Island, New York. And then all the way from episode 1 with Rugged Seas, which is probably one of my favorite episodes to this day, just because they kind of kicked it off, where they take fishing bibs, and turn it into backpacks, hats, gear. And while doing that, they're not only recycling the bibs and removing plastic from the ocean, but they're also bringing to light the issues that kind of stem from commercial fishing, and how commercial fishing is in fact, there's a lot of sustainable aspects to it, but at the same time, like, there's a whole culture behind it. There's a community there, and they don't always get recognized. So also, I think it's part of it is recognition, giving recognition to those that are doing something good and putting themselves out there.
I'll have to go back and binge from episode 1 now.
Yeah. just cut me some slack. All right. There's a $20 mic from Amazon.
I don't know, man. I'll be sending you text messages as I'm driving down the road, or I'll pull over to the side of the road. No, that's super cool, man. I like that. I listened, like we talked before we started here. I listened to that most recent one of Beaches and Beans, and it definitely had the aspect, like, that's one thing, like, we always try to do is, like, treat our shows like it's a couple guys just sitting around shooting the breeze around a campfire, talking fishing or whatever,
right?
And that was, like, definitely the feel I got from listening to that. But it was very cool to hear the story of the father and son. They were in doing some online businesses, i.e. through Amazon and things like that. Things slowed down, and they started a coffee company, and they're roasting beans and doing all that cool stuff, which is super cool, man. Especially like you mentioned in that episode, was you know, the father and son aspect. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
don't see that as much anymore, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I tried to have my son work for me at one point in time. He's like, get out of here, Dad. Get a life. Playing my Xbox, bro. Like, you want me to do what? You know,
right.
no, my kid's a good kid. I just like giving him a hard time. But you know, you just don't see it as much, which is cool, dude. But
yeah, it's you know, I can remember a big part of that that spirit and drive came from my dad. He owned a promotional items company for a little while.
okay.
And you know, I can remember he coming back. He was working in a corporate job for a while, and then he took the leap of faith. And that was a moment in time where it was actually really fun to be around this project, if you will. You know,
Sure.
like this other thing that we could all kind of put forth as a family and put effort towards to kind of lift ourselves up. You know, it was a really cool concept. And hell, I remember going there and moving boxes till the cows come home, just because we had to move boxes, you know. And
I know the feeling, man.
Yeah.
My old man owned his own trucking company for many years, and it was like, hey, guess what you're doing this weekend? You're gonna go tarp a flatbed or move some freight around. And I remembered, like, the moving freight thing was cool because I was like, you know, 14 ripping around on a forklift, and I was like, this is cool, you know. But you know, it's one of those things where, you know, looking back, I'll never forget that stuff. And you know, just, you know, growing up in the small business world, you know,
right.
And I still stick to the small business world to this day. You know, I work for a small family-owned company, you know, and I mean, pretty much every job I've had was for a small business, you know, that I can remember. Right.
Same.
I've only had a few jobs throughout my long life, you know.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I want to be able to work next to the owner, you know. I don't want to work for someone. I want to work with someone, you know. And that's always been something that's been important. I've gotten offers from other companies, and I'm just like, you know what? Probably not going to work, you know?
Yep. I've the same, you know, and I'm just like, not interested.
Not interested. Yeah.
So real quick, man, before we start winding things down, like, what is the company that are you running a charter service, right? Out of, you know?
So I actually work for a company now, and I get contracted to do other jobs in and around mostly Rhode Island and New England. And I do deliveries, you know, so we'll move, I'll move a boat from one location to the next. Which is always fun. They're quick. They're pretty painless most of the time. And, they're nice. You just throw some tunes on, and then you take a nice boat ride. And typically the boats are nice as well. But yeah, the company I work for, it's a fun job. You know, it's fast response towing and salvage. So basically we do, you know, you break down. It's kind of like AAA for the water. You know,
sure.
You break down out there and need a battery jump, we'll come jump your boat, or if you need a tow, we'll tow you back. The fun stuff is, you know, where if there's a situation where a boat's taking on water, it's sinking or has sunk, and now that's considered a salvage, you know, depending on the situation. And those are always fun because you kind of got to think fast, move quick, and you know, you get to use cool fast boats and big equipment, and it's fun, you know.
What's the biggest boat you've ever driven?
Biggest boat I've run, I have 100-ton license, so nothing too crazy. Personally, I've run like I think it was a 55-foot boat, so not that big. I did, however, get to ride shotgun and drive a little bit for and I wasn't paid. It was just a buddy of mine ran the boat. It was 108 passenger, about 80-foot ferry, fast ferry. That was cool. We did 30 knots on a 70-foot boat going
what is that, miles per hour? That always confuses me.
That's like a little less than 40 miles an hour on the water.
All right.
Which
is fast.
Which is fast with 108 people on board. You know, it's quick.
I want to get a kayak that does like a little under 40 miles an hour, just so I could rip around, get to my spots, you know?
Yeah, you get on the bass real quick.
I'm gonna have to talk to the good folks at New Canoe about that 40-mile-an-hour kayak, you know?
Tell me you're
Ripping
working
by
with
everybody
Waypoint
else.
now. We'll make that happen.
Oh, yeah, I like
We'll make the
this.
connections. We'll make
This
the
deal is
connections.
getting better and better.
Better, better. Or one of the shows I think is sponsored by Mercury, so you never know. Throw a Merc on a 300 on the back of a kayak. Who knows?
The kayak would probably sink, and we'd be calling you to salvage it out of the bottom of the lake.
I'm here for it.
I like it. I like it. Well, you know, you
Never
know unless you try.
This is true. That's why we're talking to each other right now, right?
I like it. Oh man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out tonight, man, to chat and bringing us on to Waypoint. And
yeah, absolutely.
Looking forward to the future, man. And I know it's a start of a great friendship and all that good stuff, man. But where can the good folks go and follow you, your podcast, and all that good stuff, man?
Yeah, well, thanks, for the kind words, and right back at you. I think it's going to be an awesome relationship between Along the Keel, Paddle and Fin, and then of course getting you guys involved with Waypoint. I mean, that's a partnership that I can see going, far beyond where it's at now, and it's only going to get better. It's only going to grow. And, all your followers and whatnot, it's going to be an awesome thing to be a part of. So stoked to have you aboard. Yeah, you can learn more about me and Along the Keel on Instagram, just at Along the Keel, and then alongthekeel.com. And then if you want to learn more about Waypoint, Waypoint TV on Instagram, that kind of opens the door for everything. So if you want to go to Waypoint Boating, Waypoint Hunt, Waypoint Fishing, we got a bunch of different handles, and it's all directed towards the outdoors. So if you're a boater, a hunter, a saltwater, freshwater, we got it all. It doesn't matter.
Heck yeah.
Waypoint Outdoor Collective on Instagram. That's all the podcasts that we have currently, and they're only going to get more. So nice. Yeah, check us out.
I like it.
Download the app.
Get on it, boys and girls.
Get on it.
And get it on Roku, smart TVs, these things, iPhones,
all over the interwebs.
Yeah. Technology these days. Gotta love it, man.
Gotta love it.
Well, thanks again, brother. I appreciate you, and we're looking forward to continuing to grow the Paddle and Fin family and keep the ball rolling. I forgot to mention at the beginning, boys and girls, Mrs. Susie Roloff is coming back in the month of May, so get ready for that. She's been taking some time off, helping get our trail series set up, rolling, and obviously she's our tournament director, so huge shout out to Susie and all the guys and gals that help us, all our volunteers, especially this past weekend in Indiana. Mr. Jeff Hepp, JP, Titus Dominguez. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody else. But next event, May 15th, Coldwater Chain in Michigan. Be there or be square. Till next time, boys and girls, tight lines, smooth paddling. Peace.